Okay. Um, yes, I'm just waiting for others to join, but we need to be, we will start soon. I have posted the message on the Slack for everyone to join it quickly. Okay, so going forward, we will try to streamline more in the sense that maybe we will be, if it is suitable, then we will be continuing at this time, or maybe we will be able to change it in the morning. Okay, but no worries. Let us do it, because otherwise, it's a time crunch, and I'm finding it very difficult to find the time. That was the reason why I could not able to do it on Friday. But this week I have scheduled 3 classes. Okay, so the people will be able to hear this recording, I believe. But yes, what I wanted to say is, let us, in the interest of time, let us first start, and at the end of this session, we will talk something more on the LinkedIn related things. Okay. Now, okay. So first, see what we learned on the previous class. So we learned few things. The first thing which we learned was, what is cloud? What is cloud, and how it is related with internet? What at high level, what do we mean by what do we mean by data centers? So, and how it is connected with cloud? What is what are the high level benefits of cloud, right? Today, we will see more on the cloud and what you can do, what you can't do, other things. We also discussed the drawback of a data center, drawbacks of data center. We also discussed um, uh, that how the cloud is making things easier for any startups, or all those things, which means the basic benefits of cloud. But today we will discuss more on that. Okay, so now first of all, let us have more, or dig deeper on the cloud. Okay, so cloud computing and its advantages. So today we will discuss on cloud computing and its advantages. First topic. Okay. So maybe I can put just a line here. Okay. And now we are going to discuss the benefit of cloud computing. Okay. So what do we mean by cloud computing, first of all? Okay. So cloud computing is the delivery of computing services over the internet, which enable us for faster innovation, flexible resources and economics of scale. So when we are, but how we will be able to do that? That is the main question. So as we last time, that in the cloud, we will be able to do various things, right? So what are the things we can easily do with the cloud? Or what is the meaning of the cloud computing? So cloud provides us various type of computing resources. Computing resources means we will be able to do a lot of processing easily with the cloud. Okay, that is one thing. Second is cloud provides us it's not that easy in this, but okay, perhaps if we will not feel it easy, we will switch to some other medium. Okay, so cloud computing. First thing is that we will be able to do a lot of compute. Compute means either serverless or with server. We know that normally whenever we need compute, we need servers, right? So cloud provides us the flexibility of installing the server, using the server, or going with the serverless computing. Cloud provides us networking capabilities. Okay, all type of networking capabilities. Okay, cloud provides us. So second thing is what cloud provides us? Networking capabilities. Okay, so in the traditional form, whatever we can do with the server and the client architecture, right? All those things cloud certainly provides us. Beside that, cloud provides us a virtual networking, okay, which means that it works uh, within the cloud and it perfectly connects each machine with each other. Next, cloud provides us storage, massive storage, I would say. Okay, so cloud provides us storage. This is difficult. Okay, let me switch myself to better. Otherwise, it's difficult. Okay, let me share it to paintbrush. Yeah. So cloud providers, cloud computing. Okay. So today we are discussing cloud computing. Cloud providers, compute services, which means the server and serverless computing. Cloud providers, networking. Cloud providers, storage, massive storage. Cloud providers, a lot of analytics. A lot of analytic services. Okay. Now, what all things, what other things we can see with the cloud? Cloud also provides us various other capabilities, right? For example, artificial intelligence, machine learning capabilities. Cloud provides us complete virtualization solution, right? Now, what are the main things? What are the main benefits of the cloud? Anything which you can think of? Just in case if you know. What are the benefit of the cloud?
We need not
Ravi?
bother about the capital expenditures. We don't need to have any. We don't need to make any capital expenditures.
No, that is not true. That we will not need any capital expenditure. We will, but yes, we can say that cloud providers pay as you go model. Okay. So when we say pay as you go model, which means that we we can go for whatever expenses we will do, right? Whatever time we are using for our compute services, whatever time we are using, say, networking, storage, or analytic services, for that time period, just we need to pay. That means we don't need to do the upfront payment. Okay, so therefore it is, cloud providers pay as you go. Okay, next, anything else? Anything else? Cloud providers a lot of options for high availability. Okay, disaster recovery. Cloud providers scalability solutions. It provides us elasticity solution. Okay, right? So cloud providers. What else?
Uh, uh, Infinite storage.
Yes, massive storage, right? Okay. Yes, cloud providers data security. Not only data security, but we can say a complete security solution. Okay, be it its data security, network security, various type of security services, right? So these are key benefits of cloud. Okay, now let us talk about two important terms here. Okay, first of all, to understand more on pay as you go. Okay, what is the meaning of it? Okay, so at high level, we understood that it provides us uh, um, you know whatever for whatever time we are using it, we are paying for it, right? But if we wanted to go and dig deeper into it, we need to say that it provides us the capex. Let us divide it in the two parts. One is capex and one is opex. Okay, operational expenditure and capital expenditure. Okay, so in terms of capex, capital expenditure, it is very less. Why? We are not supposed to invest heavy for to purchase the capital of it. Okay, one time investment. Capex means one time investment. So one time investment, if we talk about, that is very less. But as compared to your data center. But if we think of operational expenses, okay, so then these expenses are continuously applied for whatever services you are taking, right? Now it depends on it all depends on you, how you are utilizing it. Okay, many a times companies want to invest a dedicated amount upfront, because, for example, if they need specialized services, okay, but otherwise they can pay on a on a time to time basis, or on their subscription basis, right? So we will discuss detailed Azure I mean, what is the meaning of Azure subscription? What are the different aspects of it? How we will be able to monitor the expenses, or how we will be able to control the expenses, right? All those things we will discuss. Okay, but right now we just need to think of that. Although there, I mean, one has to invest, that's for sure, but the upfront payment is relatively very less. Okay, next is, right, so these are, I mean, so basically when we say when we say that it is like pay as you go, so that means that it is a consumption based price, right? So whatever you consume, you need to pay for that. Okay, last time I have given you the example of, say, electricity board. So we are consuming the electricity, and we are paying for it. But that doesn't mean that we don't need to install our meters, right? We don't need to install the uh, minimum payment initially, right? We need to have, we need to first take the connection from whatever be the electricity supplier, right? And then, and for taking that connection, we need to pay. We need to install the meter. We need to pay for whatever be the networking charges they are having, right? And later on, after that minimal investment, later on we need to, we can use it as as we want, right? So similarly in the cloud also, we need to invest, but we need to invest relatively less, as compared to purchasing a data center, or struggling with the regulations, um, putting it, putting the data center all over across, all over globe, or putting the data center at different places, taking the headache of disaster recovery, right? Or taking the headache of anytime, anything related with war and or any natural calamity, etc. So those things, those headaches we don't need to take, right? We just need to pay, and then we will it is up to the vendor that how the vendor is going to maintain it. Okay, now when we are talking about the scalability or high availability, so high availability is basically, um, I mean, has a lot of cost associated with it, right? So when we are saying, and the suppose if one company is paying, doing the work of for their client, the client applies the SLA, service level agreement, and if the company is not able to uh, meet those SLAs, then they need to pay the heavy penalty. But in case of cloud, since company is paying to the vendor and they are purchasing the capabilities from vendor, so it is a kind of shift of, as that liability, okay, to some extent for the vendor, so that in case if some SLA is being not met because of the underlying infrastructure which we are taking, right, then that vendor need to pay. So we are managing our SLA cost also, okay. Or and that way we are also reducing the operational expenditure, OPEX. Next is, if you wanted to go with, say, scalability, so it provide a um, very dynamic scalability options, in the sense that it provide it in two ways. One is the horizontal scaling, and one is the vertical scaling. So when we are talking about, say, horizontal scaling, that means we can scale in and scale out. Okay, so it depends on how, it depends on our workload, that if we wanted to go for scale in or scale out, okay, or if we wanted to go for scale up or scale down, right? So that means the vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. Okay, so those things we can easily do with this. Okay, now it also provide the capability to uh, capability of elasticity. So whatever I just explained you, that scale up and scale down, or scale in and scale out, that also, you know, I mean, this particular property is also known as elasticity. Okay, so if we want to grow or shrink its capacity of our CPU, memory, storage, etc. If we want to grow and shrink, right, depending on our needs, then this is known as elasticity. So automatic scaling happens with Azure for their hosted resources, and that is known as, elasticity. Okay, so Azure cloud elasticity help us to automate the things, right? So we can, I mean, it can release the resources depending on the need, or it can acquire the resources depending on the, on the need. But definitely we need to configure it first, that how we wanted to do it. Okay, it will not do it, on by own, but we need to define it, that okay, what is, I mean, based on our need, how we want to do it. Okay, next is it provides as agility, and agility is a very important term in today's market, right? For example, if you wanted to, I mean, if you're thinking for some solution and you wanted to just apply for it, you just wanted to do a POC of it, right? You can just do that, those changes, or you can apply those changes in the cloud, and you can test it, that yes, if your idea is a worthwhile idea or not. And then if you want, you can, the moment you think that okay, yes, I'm done, you can finish it off, you can close your things. So you can easily test your idea, apply your idea, and then you can close it, right? So you don't need, so you will be able to get the time to market, which is the basic concept of agility, right? So you apply your things, you see that yes, it is worthwhile. If you want, you can, if it is not worthwhile, you think that, then you can close your services. Next is it provides us geo distribution, right? So geo distribution, because as I explained you last time, that it provides us the services all over across, all over the globe. For example, Azure has 140 it's availability centers at 140 cities, sorry, 140 countries, right? So that means that it is a very massive, options are available for your, whichever, for example, you wanted to keep your one data center at US, one data center in India, one data center at somewhere else, right? You will be able to do it, right? Now, for example, recently, in case of war or in case of any other thing, that will, these type of options are very helpful, right? Similarly, you can keep your data centers within the country at a different, at a different place. For example, within India, you can keep your data center in Mumbai, you can keep your data center in Bangalore, in Delhi, right? So this is how you will be able to manage your things. Okay, so there are likewise, there are different type of benefits. Okay, now what is the basic difference between cloud scalability and elasticity? Scalability and elasticity. So normally what happens is that scalability means, the term scalability means that you wanted to, depending on your need, you wanted to extend your resources. Okay, right? So your resources initially, for example, you are using one server, and gradually you can go for say two server, right? Okay. Now, normally scalability is used to meet the static increase of the workload. Okay, scalability is always used to address the increase in the workload for an organization. Okay, and mainly this is being used by large organizations. Okay, because for example, Amazon, right? So Amazon, when started their services, say for example in India, right? Initially, they might have taken some. I mean, they might have installed some of the servers, but then gradually, as they saw that yes, I mean their purchases are high, and they, I mean, uh, they also know that okay, maybe in the particularly in the uh, festival seasons and all those things, their, the demand or the workload is getting higher. So accordingly, they I mean they can, I mean they want their service, I mean their servers, right? So normally scalability, I mean if we are talking about scalability, that has scale out option, okay, or scale up type of actions, okay. But in case of elasticity happens for both scale up and scale down, okay, or scale in or scale out in that ways, okay. Now these type of services are when you can grow and shrink your capabilities, that is known as elasticity. You can grow and you can shrink, okay, that means elasticity, and normally it is being used by small organization. Why? Because they, I mean for them it is really unpredictable that okay, how, because they always wanted to keep their cost very minimal, right? They don't want to invest much, right? So elasticity is useful, I mean is useful for them primarily, okay. So because elasticity you are applying whenever you are doing a short-term planning, okay, and then you wanted to decommission your things, okay. But scalability is used normally for large goals or large term plannings, okay. Next is what? Now we had a discussion about capex. So if we are talking about the capex, what all things we can consider here? We can consider here server cost. We can consider here storage cost. We can consider here networking cost, right? We can consider here networking cost, right? We can consider here what? Backup and recovery cost, especially backup cost. Okay. Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me? Okay. Um, okay. Uh, Next is the cost for technical resources, the cost for data center. Next is that the cost for purchasing the regulations, paying for, I mean paying to government, right? All different type of payments related with that, right? Now operational costs are, for example, related with say maintenance cost. But this maintenance cost is something which is applicable in all the cases, whether it's say cloud or not, right? But other operational costs are, for example, in case of cloud, you can, depending on your usage, right, you can pay. depending on your uptime, you can pay. So for example, you have one server only, and it is up for say for a day or maybe few hours of a day. You just need to pay for that. Okay, so that is your operational cost, right? Next is, suppose you wanted to go for leasing software, right? Or you wanted to go for licensing cost. Okay, so leasing, licensing, right? These are the things related with the operational cost. Okay, so for the benefits, your capex cost will go down normally, and your operational cost is like increased. Okay, gradually as you go. Okay, now what are the different type of options which are available with cloud? So cloud has different flavors. Okay, what are the flavors? So it has public cloud. Okay, it has private cloud, and it has hybrid cloud. These are the options which are available for cloud. Okay, what do you mean by public cloud? What is public cloud?
Public cloud is something where several organizations share the same infrastructure resources.
Okay, yes, share the same resources.
Infrastructure resources, yeah.
Okay, what else? So in case of public cloud, so public cloud owned by the cloud services or hosting providers. Normally, for example, you have Gmail, right? So Gmail is being used by thousands and thousands of people, right? Provide resources and services to multiple organizations and users, right? It access, I mean, you can access your resources via simply internet. You don't need a dedicated connection, or you don't need to go and log into a particular network. You can just access your services via internet. Okay, there is no other thing is needed except internet. Okay, now for cloud, everything is turning to say whatever I mean is there, whether it's hardware, software, networking, security, whatever, right? So all those things you will be able to easily access from anywhere, right? So anywhere computing is something related with the public cloud. Okay, so Azure provide Azure have I mean different service providers, data centers everywhere, right? And so basically there are a lot of sharing here. Okay, so that is how your public cloud works. But what are the disadvantages of it? So suppose you wanted to do some monitoring, monetary aspects. Okay, for example, banking operations. Okay, or banking, that to very secure banking operations. Okay, or suppose some internal aspects of your organization. For example, if say all the big companies, right? So say for example TCS, Wipro, IBM, Microsoft, right? So all these companies are doing their operations internally, right? They don't want to expose their services to the outside world, right? Why? Because of security aspect, because of more control, So if you want more control, if you want more security, if you want, if you wanted to ensure that everything will remain in your control and according to your wishes, right? Then you need to go for private cloud. Okay, so a private cloud consists of cloud computing resources used extensively by one business or organization. The private cloud can be physically located at at your own organizational data center, or it can be hosted to a third-party service provider. But in a private cloud, the services and infrastructure are always maintained on a private network, right? So even if you are using, say, Azure, right? See, even if one company is acquiring Azure or using its infrastructure, right? So still Azure will work as a private cloud provider for that particular organization, and they deploy particular hardware for that particular organization, so that the infrastructure, the infrastructure and other things will remain for that particular organization, dedicated for years. Okay, private cloud is a customizable to meet the unique business and security need of the organization, right? So if you wanted to meet the unique business need, then you will be able to use private cloud. Okay, and lot of sensitive data. Okay, so lot of sensitive data, if you wanted to control, that you can control using private cloud. You wanted to, but it's not that it is it is not like a data center. Okay, so in the data center, you are deploying those hardware resources, right? You are keeping that information for you. But in case, suppose you are using Microsoft Cloud, okay, or say Azure, you can just pay for that to Microsoft, and you say that I need these things for my own organization. So in that case, what Azure will do? Azure will allocate those particular racks, those particular area within that data center, right, which is being monitored by Azure, which is being controlled by Azure only for you, and nobody else will be able to use it. Okay, and we will see these things when we do more practical, right? We will see that how we will be able to do it. Okay, next is hybrid cloud. So in case some of the part of the cloud, some infrastructure is controlled by, say, some organization, okay, and some is by, say, public, okay, then that type of cloud is known as hybrid cloud. So some private and some public. Okay, so in case of costing, which one is more cheaper? Public, right? Then next is hybrid. So if you wanted to reduce your cost comparatively, right, but you also want some control, then you will go for hybrid cloud. So for example, banks. So bank want that their customers are able to use their things using, say, their own mobile, right? So everyone, all the customer of that particular bank will be able to use the resources using a particular app from their mobiles. So in a way, they are exposing it to the internet, but they are also keeping things safe in their own custody, right? And they wanted to have a proper controls, to be placed in their system, so that nobody can hack their system, although nobody can steal their information. But they also, parallelly, they also wanted to serve their customer, right, across the globe. So that means they can opt for based on such type of business need, they can go for hybrid cloud. Or in case if somebody wanted to reduce their cost comparatively, right? Instead of private cloud, they can go for hybrid cloud. Okay. So these are the three type of cloud. Okay. Next is what? Now, whenever you will talk about any of these cloud services, right? You can always talk about, say, whether it's hybrid cloud or public cloud or private cloud or whatever. You can always talk in terms of three things. Sorry, in terms of few things, right? So, what are those things? Security, performance, scalability, cost, and efficiency. Okay? These are the terms which decides, or based on which you can decide which type of cloud you can go for, either public cloud or private cloud or hybrid cloud. If you want more security, tight controls, you can go for private cloud. If you want more performance, high speed, right, extremely high computing resources, you can go for private cloud. If you want very fast, or very reliable scalability, you can go for private cloud. If you want to, if you don't care about the cost, right? Cost could be any, I don't care, right? But I want better things in place. I want quality, right? Tight security. I can go for private cloud. I want more efficiency, the highest speed, right? But in case, so everything is right. In case of private cloud, the things are relatively costlier. In case of hybrid, comparatively cheaper. In case of public, very less. Because everything is a shared resource. Okay. So these are the parameters based on which you will be able to see that, okay, what type of options you wanted to go for. Okay. Right. Okay. So far, any question? Okay. Now, next is, you might have heard other services. For example, IaaS, PaaS, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and what? Software as a service. Okay. Now, these are the few things. Okay. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS? Anything? Okay. So let us talk about this. In case of IaaS, So there are three things: server and storage, the networking, okay, and firewalls. Okay. Next is data center, physical plant or building. Okay. So networking, firewalls, and security. And next is data centers. So in case if you wanted to say that I just want these things to be provided by the vendor, rest all things I will control. So server and storage will be, will be for, by the data center or by the service provider. Networking, firewall, security. These things are not my headache. Some vendor need to, take care of it. And the data centers, right? I don't want any regulations. I don't want to keep the headache of, say, government regulations, paying the government, renting for use buildings, etc. I don't want I don't want to do that, right? So if I wanted to just shift my responsibility related with these things, right? I can go for infrastructure as a service, right? I'm just taking the infrastructure. I'm saying that, okay, Microsoft need to take care of, say, infrastructure. Okay. I do not want infrastructure as a headache for me. Okay. Then it is IS. In case of next, in case of PaaS, what we want is, we definitely want these things done by vendor. But on top of that, what we want, we don't want to do, we don't want to take care of the operating system. Okay. We want the vendor to take care of the operating system. We don't want those headaches. Okay. We don't want to monitor our operating system. Okay. No monitoring for the operating system, right? We want that the operating system responsibility is taken care. Then we can go for this thing. Okay. So on top of these three things, we don't want these things to be taken care by us, right? We want that other somebody. Next is, if we don't want databases to be monitored by us, okay, we want the storage, right, to be managed by the vendor. Then on top of these three things, if we want, if we want that these two other things will also be taken care by the vendor, then this type of model is known as PaaS, platform as a service. So we want a complete platform. We just don't want infrastructure, but we want a complete platform to be provided by the Microsoft. Okay, then we are going for PaaS. Okay, so on top of these three things, server and storage, networking and firewall and security, and data center, on top of this thing, we want operating system, monitoring and flexibility, and database storage, etc., to be provided by the Microsoft. Okay, operating system and databases are additional to these three things. Okay, then this is PaaS. But in case if we want other things, right, if we want that I just wanted to control only my application. Okay, I just want only my data to be managed. Okay, so even my application, okay, will also be controlled by the vendor. For example, in case of Gmail, what you are doing, okay, in case of Gmail, you are not managing anything. You are just managing your data. You just manage your own emails, right? You are not interested to manage any other thing. Correct? So if you just wanted to manage only your data, then this type of application is known as SaaS. Okay. In case, or you can say Office 365. Okay. You just want to use it. Okay. You just want to keep those files with you. You don't want to take headache of Office software, right? You are just paying for the cost for the use, and rest is up to Microsoft. Okay, or say for example Outlook, Hotmail, right? So these are okay. But in case of if you wanted to take charge of your application, you are developing your application your own. You are having a team of the developers. You are you know building your application, and you also wanted to store your data and all those things. Then you can go for PaaS. But you don't want to take headache of operating system and databases. But in case if you wanted to install everything, your operating system, your databases, you wanted to configure your storage, you wanted to take care of your security related aspects of this. So when I'm talking here the security, this security is something related with the infrastructure security. Okay, this security is related with your OS related security, your databases related security, and all that. Right? So you wanted to manage all the security. Here you are just keeping the security of your data. For example, your password. So for example, if you are using your Gmail or Hotmail or whatever, or you are using Office, right? You want to, it is your responsibility to take care of your data. If you are sharing your password with anybody else, that is your headache. You can't go back and claim this to your service provider that my data has gone out. Okay, so your security of the data is your headache. Here the security of your OS and DB etc. is the headache of yours. Okay, here the security of infrastructure is taken care by your vendor. Okay, anything else? So this is the main difference between IaaS, PaaS and SaaS. Any question? Okay. In case if you have any question, feel free to ask, or you can ask these questions on the on our group. Okay. Now, quickly,